Hey everyone, Taps here, and I have the pleasure of a round two interview with the man, the myth, the long locked legend, Rhys, the communications aficionado of Ecomi and Veve. Thanks for hopping on, Rhys.
Thanks for having me, mate. It's good to be back. It's good to be back.
Yeah, I'm happy that you were willing to hop on another call for another grilling. AMA with me.
Speaking of grilling, before we go too far, can I just say that I am truly honored to be in the presence of this beard?
Yes, that literally just posted today.
I
Oh
saw
man,
that
are you
go
gonna
out.
grow one?
Look, I would, but I don't know. I feel like for the camera's sake, maybe keeping it relatively clean is better for me.
Oh man, I commented on that picture that that they made, and I was like, that's my channeling when face.
And look, just so everybody knows, that is in no way confirmation of the other brands that just appeared in that image. It was just a it was just a tweet. Everybody
It's
relax.
not confirmation. Yeah. Oh, I love it. So you're in Canada now, right?
I'm still in the States, actually.
Oh,
I'm in the
but
US,
you're moving to Canada,
moving to Canada. Yeah, that's the
right?
plan. I've escaped Australia, which is kind of going into some pretty heavy lockdowns again at the moment.
Uh,
Um, but yeah, just relocating, and really, I'm just moving for a better drop time.
well,
That's it.
oh, that's smart. So, I mean, you're probably gonna be like the tannest person in Canada because like you're coming from sandy, surfy, sunny Australia to the cold inland Canuck life. So maybe you should grow a beard.
Maybe, yeah, maybe it's time. Yeah, in winter, but I'll take advantage of this skin tone for a little while first.
Yeah, there you go. And you mentioned a while back that you actually quit the catering business to go full time Ecomi and Vivi. So
Yeah.
how's the change been? And now that you have full time to deal with us, crazy creators and the avid when and this when batters and of course the avid futters.
Man, I'd love to say that it gave me more time, but it's just let me plug in a little bit more. I'm glad I'm not juggling both anymore. That
There.
was getting a bit too intense, especially I think I was in the middle of that the last time we spoke. So it was sort of 40, 50 hours a week doing that, at least that sort of working on this. So yeah, but this is so exciting that I'm happy to be able to plug into it at the moment, and there's just so many transitions happening at the moment, but so much going on all the time. I mean, we were just speaking about it that there's announcements every week, there's new updates every week. Yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
Like this is the best bit. We've been building to this for almost 4 years. So
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, we were talking about this before, but you guys have updates almost every other day to where like I can't even cover other projects just because there's always something to cover with Ecomi and Vivi. And I mean, it's been just over 3 months since our last chat, and a lot has happened. I mean, there's more licenses and more users and more community and more memes than any other crypto project I believe ever seen. So I'm curious, like, how are you and the team dealing with all this workload, you've put in over the past couple of months, and then is it just going to be, tenfold over the, end of the year?
yeah, I mean, it certainly seems like this pace is going to continue. We've got a few monumental things to happen, right? The move to immutable, and I'm sure we'll cover that later. So as we kind of check those boxes, I guess it at least removes one of those stresses. And we're building the team out. We've welcomed Noah and Alex since the last time we spoke. Quite a few new devs as well. It is happening, and we are growing the team as we can. But there's always a lead time on that too. You bring someone new in, you have to introduce them to everything that's going on, and both components of the business, VV and Ecomi, and the relationship there, and the token, and the community. And credit to Alex and Noah, like those guys have just sunk their teeth in. But yeah, it's funny, I always hassled Dan because I was like, are we going to get to a point where we are rolling out regular announcements, and we had these things saved up, and he'd always assure me that yes, we would. And now that we're here, I'm like, can we go back to not doing
Style
that?
back, just style it back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a little bit. Yeah, it's full on. But this is what you work for, and to see it take hold and the exponential growth that that we're seeing across all aspects of the business is, I mean, it's incredible to be a part of.
I mean, absolutely. And we're happy to be, just able to witness it and even somewhat grow with Ecomi and Veve. So, before we get into some of the deeper questions, there's just so much that you guys are doing, so much that you're working. What do you do to relax, man? Like you guys are working so much and you can't surf anymore soon. So
Yeah, yeah. Look, I used to have a great work-life balance, and that pendulum's definitely swung to the work side. I'm hoping that it comes back a little bit in the next few months. Um, but it's just one of those things. When the work's there, when the pressure's on, we all thrive on it. We're all happy to kind of put our weight behind it and commit. Come the end of the year, I'd like to be snowboarding a little bit more and being outdoors and that kind of thing. But we'll wait and see.
I mean, you're not going to be too far away from Tahoe, and there's excellent snowboarding in Tahoe. So whenever you want to get a trip in, I'm down.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Yeah, I think if we put the invite out, we'd probably book out a few places.
I think we would book out every place in Tahoe if the fam knew that. Oh yeah, you can have like a little winter retreat with Rhys and the team.
Yeah,
Done.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I want to get to some serious questions, and some of my own are like some of them are my own, and some are from the community. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. We're going to start off similar to the first approach, that we did last time. So, most important and articulate questions to start.
Okay.
When drivable T-Rex?
That's a Trevor question, mate. Go hassle him. That's how good. I love the trouble.
I mean, it keeps coming up, but we know we want to see it, right? Like a drivable T-Rex is going to come, and then eventually it's going to evolve into something different, like when flyable Stay Puft Man.
Like the next day. That would be another when. Yeah. Yeah. I can't wait to see the Jurassic Park collectibles whenever they're ready. Like it's, I know a lot of people have been waiting for them, and there's, so many people are fans of Jurassic Park. We've all grown up with it at different stages. So.
Yep, absolutely. And that's we'll touch on some of those here, but let's start off with like the celebration that the Marvel first drop scene. Finally, we see Spider-Man. So I was finishing a video and another one popped up, the 2 of 5, right, and then a 3 of 5 today. So all really exciting, and that's technically the first Marvel drop, right?
Correct. Yeah, this is the one.
Are you sure?
This is the first officially licensed Marvel drop.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen with that, actually.
Yeah.
We'll have to see if it gets an upgrade.
All jokes aside, the Marvel news was a month ago, and it was exciting, and starting off with Spider-Man itself, an Avenger, is exciting, right? So I guess my question is, how often will we start seeing Marvel drops now that it's been kicked off?
Pretty frequently. I mean, Marvel have I think it's 8,000 characters or something. I don't know that we have access to the whole library, but obviously, we've got comic books coming out. They're all Marvel to start. There's so many things like that. There's truly just a mountain of content, and a mountain of collectibles and different ways to be collecting those kind of things. So, yeah, once they start rolling, I'm not going to say it's going to happen in the next few weeks. We'll have to wait for Veve Twitter to announce anything like that. But yeah, there's a lot of content there, and frankly, there's a lot of Marvel fans. If the quickest way to grow this user base and keep introducing people to Veve is to be rolling out brands that people want and that people are aware of. So
absolutely, and that's great to hear, right? Because DC is loaded in the Veve app, so I'm sure Marvel's like, we need to even out that market share of the app a little bit, right?
Yeah. I'm sure there's a little bit of that going on, and frankly, we've tested the use case up until now. We've proven the use case. Like there's an incredible audience. People are interacting with these things. People understand the value of digital assets now more than ever. And from a company point of view, this is the way to get into that space. And so as soon as those assets are ready or approved, nobody wants to delay on them. It's
awesome. And in the Marvel announcement back in June, Marvel CEO Dan Buckley said, quote, like us, Veve understands collecting is about the experience just as much as the product, and we look forward to extending that experience for our fans over the years to come. So it's a multi-year outlook partnership, which is incredible. But, you know, I'm curious, are you able to speak about any of like the other experiences that we could see in this partnership? You touched on digital comic books. We'll be seeing probably first with Marvel, but I know that we've also heard little inklings about mini games, and you know, will Marvel have any, I guess, play in the Veveverse? Are you able to kind of share anything like that?
Not really. Not really. Like, I mean, I wish that I could allude to things more. I mean, the Veveverse, really what sets us apart with the Veveverse is the same thing that sets Veve apart from other collectibles platforms. We have licensed content. That means we can build experiences around that content. So I'm not going to directly say they're going to have a hand in it or anything like that, but obviously we have access to that content in our metaverse, and we'll be building experiences around that content.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, we'll all have to wait and see what they become, though.
And so, will there be any, I guess, restrictions with Marvel since they have their, you know, Marvel Unlimited app? And I know I saw like a Spider-Man app as well, that's separate, I think, from the Marvel app, you know, which Marvel has its own digital comic books and games in that app. Is there any, you know, restriction based on the partnership there?
I'm sure that there is, you know, I mean, that's how licensing, well, that's how all companies operate, but especially in licensing, our agreements let us use the IP in a specific way. But this has been in the works now for more than a year with Marvel. You know, I think
Wow.
like it's been a long running thing. Obviously, there have been mountains of due diligence done from both companies, mainly from Marvel, to really get this thing in motion. And David and Dan have always been really forward thinking with the way that we use content now, but also the way we want to use it in the future. So I have no doubt that they have already accounted for a lot of those use cases. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I guess the perfect example, you know, Marvel Unlimited is a comic book subscription service, but that's a different product to being able to actually collect and own those comic books.
Right.
So there's a differentiation there. And Marvel produced something like 70 or 80 comic books a week still, or some, there's
Wow.
some crazy figure like that it's, you know, I'm personally not that plugged into the world of comic books, but when you hear things like that and realize just how big that market sector still is, and I think it's growing at this point, you know, collectibles have come back into fashion, and anything like that is really appealing to more people. So yeah, I mean, we're incredibly excited about the partnership now, but also this partnership growing together in the next few years.
Awesome. And one thing that stuck out, as you said, you know, it's been worked on for a year. So all I can think is, you know, when we were coming out with videos back in like April and in March about like, oh, like Marvel was going to happen because of this research that we did and all that, and we couldn't confirm any of it, and you guys are probably just smiling like, oh man, these chuckleheads, they're right, but
yeah. Almost every day I was like, we need to hide some things.
Oh man, I love it. That's great. So that was the first big news. Then we saw the news about the I never know how to say, is it OKX exchange?
Okay, that's how I pronounce it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's okay.
OKX. So, you know, awesome. You know, we've been saying for months now, you know, when exchanges, now exchanges. So with
Now
Immutable
exchanges,
being slotted for hopefully sometime this month, if we're still on track, can we expect more, you know, this month?
more exchanges. You know, I hate to commit to these time periods. There's definitely more in the works, right? Our exchange strategist, since we brought him on, has been really hard at work behind the scenes. But just to give people a bit of perspective on what happens there. I think a lot of people in the community think we can just make a phone call, demand to be listed, and it'll happen the next day.
That's it, 100%.
Right? That's how it goes. Let's just cut the interview. We're done. You know, but to integrate a new chain, for example, say GoChain, takes months, right? Not just same thing. They might end up having to set up a node and run that. They have to test all the wallets, all the transactions, make sure their whole user interface can integrate with that thing. So it's not that easy from a technology point of view. And then from a company point of view, most of these exchanges now are under a lot of regulatory pressure, right? And frankly, you don't want to list on an exchange that doesn't comply with those regulations. But that means they need all of your information. They need to know how the company runs. They need to know, they want all your financial information. They want to know that you're going to be around in a few years and all of those kind of things. Then once you check all the boxes and make it through that process, you still go into a queue behind what other projects they have ready to list, so
Right.
From sort of inception to being listed can literally take months. And I mean, we've experienced those delays firsthand, to our detriment at one point, but now, I mean, OKX is one of the biggest exchanges in the world. Mm-hmm. They're always in the top 3 for trading volume, and they service a lot of the Chinese and Asian market, which, just looking at the Veve app, clearly we're going to start targeting that market, right? So it's still a strategic listing as well. But they have backed us too, it wasn't just us reaching out. They were happy to list us because they see the future potential of OMI and Veve and everything involved. So that in itself is just further validation. It's like having Marvel come on board. Well, they can see what we're doing and validate it on the token side, so can the exchanges. So, we're very blessed to have come to fruition, and great timing when obviously we're dropping Marvel this week. Now, new exchanges, I know that there's one confirmed for once we migrate to Immutable. Just touching on the technology point, it is much easier to integrate an ERC20 token than it is a Go20 token at this stage. And there's more in the works, but they land when they land. Right. I've well and truly learned my lesson trying to guess when they will come out. So if we get lucky, we see another one before we move. If not, we work towards the ones that happen afterwards.
Absolutely. And I mean, to what you just kind of touched on, I guess, how that process works with exchanges, I imagine, when they think about, is this company going to be around for the long haul? Like, they see Ecomi popping up and, trending all the time and, one of the highest gain percentages, and they see the Veve user base, but also there has to be some more added validity going from, and nothing is wrong with GoChain exchange, but to go to Immutable, a progressively growing ecosystem exchange, layer 2 solution that is tied to the ERC token or ERC network, has to have a little bit of weight to it when you're applying to more exchanges. So I imagine making that change now is going to see a lot more growth, or at least easeability of getting into some of these exchanges further down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And OKX as an exchange, they've built the first bridge to Arbitrum, which is a layer 2 scaling solution for Ethereum. So they're very aware of the development of the Ethereum ecosystem, and they're already building bridges for people to access that more easily. So even for us, moving to a new network, that opens up more accessibility more than anything. Awesome. And people are already there using a layer 2. So yeah, that definitely helps us. And then, we're actually really in a great position now because we do come with a huge user base. Exchanges, one of the things they want to know or see is how many users are you going to bring to our exchange? It has to be worth their while to implement your protocol or your coin or whatever it is. And like you just said, it doesn't take much to see how active our community is, how involved they are. And that's a very appealing thing from a listing point of view.
Yeah, I think referring to us as users is probably the nicest adjective versus rabid Veve fanatics. But yeah, a big user base. But speaking of OKX, you already touched on it, but it has a major footprint in the APAC region among other countries outside of the US, which seems like a strategic move, which we touched on. But it made me think to conversations from previous AMAs, around localization. And this seems very strategic, and like you guys are stacking up as you have showed that you do. Is there a time frame, I guess, roughly, for when the localization will come into play? And for those who don't know, localization is a slew of languages having access in the Veve app, so it's not just English. Is there any kind of look on when that will come?
Yeah, I did speak with Dan about this last week. But there's no time frame yet. Right? Okay. It's in the development pipeline, but it is actually quite a lot of work. Other than sort of however many languages we choose, then having all of those language files available for what is already in the app. It also means that every new feature that we roll out has to have go through the same process. We need it in, whether it's in Spanish or French or Chinese, or so for every language, we then have to test and implement every update. So it actually extends the feature rollout, the lead time for those feature rollouts by quite a bit. No, it's a priority, right? We understand that a big majority of the world doesn't speak English, or at least not natively. And we're definitely working towards that. But there's truly not enough hours in the day at this point.
Right. And
Yeah.
I mean, between that and OKX, and I think about the anime vertical. Like, I want to see that right away because I'm a huge anime nerd. But
Mhm.
like, I almost wonder if like the localization makes sense once that kind of comes around. But I guess what are your thoughts on like how impactful that will be for Veve? Just actually having access to the APAC region and having them to be able to read the Veve app and do drops in their native language.
Yeah, I mean it's a huge region, right? I mean it's especially Southeast Asia and Japan and obviously China. Population wise, huge, but they're also some of a vast majority of our audience kind of falls between that 20 to 40-year-old age bracket. And I think Southeast Asia has the largest population of people in that age bracket now, or will in the next few years. So in terms of access and opening Veve up to wider audiences, yeah, I think it's huge. I think it's a massive step in the right direction. Yeah, as to when that can happen, we'll see. And then obviously it's, we roll out brands that are more specific to those regions. We've seen Ultraman, which is more specific to Japan, but I don't know that we've really accessed that market yet. I don't see. How long have you had that mask? Did you buy
Uh,
that post
I
video?
Yeah, I bought it before the video.
Yeah, right.
So I actually started working on an Ultraman cosplay, but I've been slammed, so I wanted to have it like ready for this interview and like actually like wear it, but I didn't get it done. So I'm not gonna bring it on when it's not a finished product.
That's fair. We'll do another one in 3 months, and you can wear it then. I
Hopefully,
think the New York Comic Con, they're running a physical event, and that's in October, maybe. So
so do you want to do it
maybe you
there?
can take it out on the town. Beg your pardon?
I said, so do you want to do it do the next one live there?
I'd love to. Yeah, let's do it. I'll take a mic around.
Okay.
I need to con Dan and David into taking me there.
Love it. So we saw the incredible looking version 2 of the showroom from Trevor. Looks night and day different. Like, really excited for that. Do we know roughly like when we can see that upgrade?
Yeah. So look, there's quite a few things that will roll out in the next few weeks. A lot of new features, a lot of new ways to collect. I guess I'll just leave that hanging there for now. So the showrooms will come after that.
Okay.
It's it will make a bit more sense as we move through August. I think they're in their last stage of testing now, and I know Trevor had a few more updates to make, maybe with the lighting and things. But I'll just say now, like, I wouldn't expect it until September.
Okay.
And if it takes a little bit longer, it takes a little bit longer. But yeah, it's night and day compared to the current showroom, and I know Trevor will be stoked that the corner has been closed. I didn't even realize that was a thing, and until he said it to
I
me.
didn't either, but he's meticulous about his work and it shows.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And the vault door obviously got an upgrade, but it's also, I think it's animated. I think there's going to be sound effects with it. So we're starting to see those upgrades really start to be implemented now, and that I guess really comes down to the fact we upgraded the render engine 8 weeks ago, so that I can't remember, the universal rendering pipeline, I think it's called URP.
Mm-hmm.
It just makes it a much more functional back end for us to be able to implement things like that. And then since then, we've seen the Ghost Trap rollout, which has sound effects and animations. We've seen Slimer, which is its own kind of thing. So yeah, I guess that upgrade has really made a difference to the assets we can roll out as well.
That's great. And so like that's kind of leads into my next question. Will there be any new features that will come with it, like in the app upgrades in the marketplace that have been discussed to show audit trail or owner history of the collectibles, and then little nuanced things like as we scale and as the usability does, like being able to buy, more than 350 gems at a time, or place multiple collectibles in AR once instead of like having to select one at a time. Is all that kind of tied to the upgrade, or will it be like little things here and there?
Little things here and there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not so much tied. The new showroom, when that comes in, is kind of just going to replace the other one.
Mm-hmm.
Those other features, the being able to track purchase history and those kind of things will come post immutable.
Mm-hmm.
What else did you just mention there? There was
The ability to place basically collectibles multiple times, and also being able to buy like more than 350 gems at a time.
Yeah, yeah. So I think both of those things will be much more manageable with the web platform. So being able to buy 350 gems at the time, I think, is an app store limitation right now. So once we've got the web platform, if there's other ways to get into the ecosystem and make payment, we can open that up. The usability of the showrooms will really develop when you can use a mouse and change it on your computer as well. I think I'm personally, and I know Dan has said this too, I'm expecting a lot of those kinds of, or those pieces of the user experience to move to the web platform. Having it in your pocket is going to be really fun for AR and to show people on the fly. But in terms of moving your collectibles around, building showrooms, it's going to be way easier on a big screen.
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's impressive people do all that with their fingers on their smartphones like that. I don't have the patience to do it. Like I'm praying for the web version as soon as possible, so that way I can deck out my showroom. And we've seen these rabid Veve fans put on their interior design hats and make incredible showrooms that are borderline art, and they use collectibles to basically make shelves and tables and dance floors with the collectibles. So, is there any way we'll see the shelves or collectible accessories coming anytime soon?
They're in development. They'll come after the showroom. That's the next kind of thing that Trevor's working on. Obviously, in amongst all of that, we have all of these assets coming out, like the Spider-Man collectibles and comic books being worked on, and all of those kind of things. So it's definitely in the works, but there's a few other priorities that have really taken precedent at this point. But just on that, I mean, shout out to everybody who creates those showrooms. They blow me away. I think it was Tom Barlew said the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. He said he's never seen the creativity that he's seen there. And just on that, are you doing an interview with him soon?
I am. I'm working with his assistant to get that set up, and basically to talk all things NFT space and Ecomi Veve, and I'm super excited because I listen to Impact Theory all the time. Big fan of Tom Bilyeu's success and what he's done. So I will let the fam know when that happens, but it's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, good on you, man. That's crazy. I mean, I just saw your interview with NFT Culture as well. It's so amazing to see you and the rest of the fam getting out there and spreading the awareness too.
We got to spread the good word of Veve.
That's good.
So, are there plans to make the Veve app more social, like be able to direct message your added friends, or like a better search function, or the ability to see who's following you, or maybe even like a postable story feature instead of just posting it to like a public feed?
Yeah, they definitely are. Obviously, all of these things take time, and you have to test it against everything in the app. I know the one thing that's in development soon will be more of a direct trade feature. I'm not entirely sure how it will function, but I think it's more of instead of having to post your listing in the market to everybody to sell it, you might be able to share a code with a particular person, and then they can make the purchase.
Like a private sale?
Yeah, like a private
Awesome.
sale. Yeah. So things like that are in the works. There will be almost like a friends messaging system, whether that enables the private sale thing or it's just to kind of connect with your friends. One thing we're really finding lately, and it just sucks because scammers will always find a way to scam, but you're seeing a lot of impersonation accounts. So it might have your username and then your username with one letter differently and then another one. So people are getting caught out, just not really paying attention and sending collectibles to the wrong user. So those kind of features will help to cut down on that for sure. And just on that note, if anyone's sending collectibles, send the other person your QR code, guys. Like it's the easiest way to do it. At least then you know it will populate with the right name. And there does seem to be some sort of indexing issue when it comes to populating those names. Sometimes you'll search a username and it just won't come up. But the devs are aware of it. You know, it's on the list of things to sort out. So yeah, there's definitely a lot more functionality and usability coming to that part of the experience, because ultimately we want you guys to be able to connect with each other too, you know, outside of Twitter and Telegram and Discord
and Reddit and every other group, right? I mean, yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. Happy to hear that. That's going to, you know, keep some of the users in the app even longer. So love it. You know, there's so much coming and so much to look forward to, but for objectivity, I'm kind of curious, you know, what are some immediate challenges that, you know, you and the team see for Veve's growth? You know, we have the target of 1 million users by the end of the year. You know, what are some challenges that you foresee?
Yeah, I mean, I think the app in its current state can handle that many users now. You know, we've obviously we went through that big re-engineering stage, and I know that was frustrating for a lot of people, but it had to happen before we could roll out things like Marvel and some of these brands. One immediate challenge we're really facing is finding the right devs. You know, we have a very specific tech stack to try and find people that are in the same time zone as our development team so that they can actually work together. You know, it is proving quite difficult. And I mean, that's part of the industry at the moment. You know, there are so many new companies springing up and so many people moving into this space. But again, there's just a lead time in training people up, or, you know, if they don't already work with the stack that we work with, maybe they're not as suitable, or you train them up and then find out they weren't as good as you thought, you know, like and Michael, our CTO, is quite ruthless with the way that he assembles the team. And he has to be, right? We need to be able to rely on each person in it to do their job. So that's definitely going to be a challenge, but I trust him to build that out. In terms of that's probably the biggest challenge from a functional standpoint. The app is obviously resonating with people. You know, the experience is resonating with people. One thing I would like to see, and a lot of people suggest this, is just the availability of different types of content, so that new users, you know, they don't have to struggle through a drop for the first few weeks before they manage to experience something in augmented reality or that kind of thing. That can be a bit of a barrier that we've noticed. So I think that will become an offering at some point. But it'll either be in that capacity or just the edition numbers will increase for the commons and things like that, so that there is availability. But outside of that, I mean, Rogers and Cohen have been smashing it. You know, I did see some people comment a few days ago in the Telegram that they haven't seen anything from them yet. I'm not sure if they understand how the PR side of things work, but
I think they relate it with the marketing side, which obviously they're not, right?
yeah, exactly. It's a different field. But all you need to do is Google VV Marvel or VV MGA or things like that, and you see it hit these publications. I mean, that's what they're responsible for. And we even saw the Givenchy Pride piece made it into Vanity Fair last week.
Yeah, congrats.
Which is just huge. Yeah. I mean, you know, to be putting, even just to see digital collectibles put in front of the mainstream like that, you know, even if it wasn't referencing us, to see it coming into the awareness and people really becoming more familiar with digital assets, it's really helping to feed our narrative too. So yeah, that's really helping us at the moment. You know, they kind of say, like, you can be as prepared as possible for a business, but a lot of it just comes down to timing. And we've been very blessed this year that NFTs and digital assets and crypto in general has just really hit the mainstream awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. Seize the momentum when you can. And it seems like it's been like the most ideal situation, ideal time to really hit the ground running, because you guys have exploded. So, you know, congrats on all the success. And we know, you know, we haven't even been here that long, right? It's been, I guess, 5-6 months since we've all been here. And it feels like it's just been a fast growth, but I don't think anyone knows, you know, what's going to be coming at us over the last half of the year or years to come. And then, you know, once NFTs really become full circle, you guys are already solidifying such a strong foothold than like most other projects are. So it's really truly incredible to see a company that is a startup that is just making this big of a wave so fast and so soon. So, really, really congrats. And I'm hitting you with a lot of when questions, but now I'm gonna hit you with a few. I guess I'd probably call them like FUD busters.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah. And this is what I do.
Yep, I know the master of deflection. um, so the founder token unlocks. Several of us creators have received messages around this and comments, and we do our best to respond to it because, in my eyes, it's not that big of a deal, right? Because there's so many big licensors and brands and so much buildup that has happened to Ecomi and Veve that if they just dumped all their tokens, that'd be a lot of angry people who've taken decades to build up partnership relationships. So I don't think that's even on the cards. But do you want to address why this shouldn't be a constant worry for all those who want to try and make this a thing every 3 months?
Yeah, yeah. And look, it doesn't matter what we say. There's still going to be people that make it a thing every 3 months, right? But there's only a few of them left to deal with. So, for starters, I see some people try to call us out and say that it's a bad move for these unlocks to happen. But I don't think that people understand these are in time-locked smart contracts. They're out of our control, right? And they have been vested now for what we started this project 4 years ago, right? And the tokens have now been vesting since we did the token generation event or whenever they went in. So they will unlock when they unlock. That's how smart contracts work, right? Second to that, I just think it's really crucial that people understand that these co-founders started this business 4 years ago. They have spent every waking moment of their lives building towards this, getting the licensors on board, building the app, creating this experience that we are now all enjoying. And for that amount of time, there was no revenue. They didn't get paid anything. They created this company by investing their own money into all of these things. So to kind of come out now and say that they're not owed their dues is just a bit of a slap in the face to the people that have created this whole company, and continue to grind away every day to make it as successful as possible for everybody involved.
Right.
So I truly think that anyone who is worried about people who have gone through this much effort and spent this much energy to build this company and create the vision that we are going to continue to work towards, if you're worried about them getting their dues, crypto is not for you. Like this is not the place for you to invest. And I would say to them, go and try and do this on your own. Start from scratch. Build this company or build any company, and then deal with people who are enjoying it and profiting from it, telling you that you don't deserve some sort of remuneration for that. It's just a really, it boggles my mind, and look, I understand that the vast majority of people that invest in crypto or in this space probably have never run a business. They don't understand what it takes to even start something like that, let alone what it takes to create something that has, become this experience. So I get that, I understand that it's probably more from a lack of understanding and a lack of knowledge that people lash out like this. But if you're that worried about your investment, you shouldn't be here. I just think that there's too many signs pointing to the future of this company, that it's just a non-event. It was a non-event last time. It's going to be a non-event this time. There is no benefit to them dumping these tokens. We all know that.
Yeah. Amen to that. I couldn't agree with everything you said more. There's a lot of people who this is their first time in crypto and they're still kind of learning it. And to your point, like many that have never worked with a lot of businesses or even owned a business, and many this is their first time investing, right? So, go trade stocks and you'll see major shareholders dump constantly and then rebuy back in, who are like the CEOs of these companies, right? So like it's pretty common practice in the world of investing, but it's pretty incredible that there hasn't been some form of dump that's really happened during this unlock period. And again, it makes zero sense to me for that to ever really have a big effect because like you guys are long-term vision. It isn't a pump and dump, project. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you addressing that. And
Yeah, no worries. And just on top of that, like this is blockchain. You can see this stuff. Like we put out an article to tell people that it was happening, even though it's in the white paper and people were already aware of it. Like and that's it just blows me away sometimes the entitlement of people, frankly, to suggest that their whatever amount they've invested is somehow more valuable and they should be able to hold everybody accountable to every moment. When really this wouldn't exist without those guys having created this business.
yeah,
That's just that. So, hopefully, I'm sure it won't put it to bed. I'm sure we'll deal with it again in 3 months' time. That's just the nature of it. And like at some point, they should be able to sell some of those tokens, to hold the co-founders of this company hostage. I don't agree with it, and we all know that they're not there to just dump this token. It's not going to serve the business or the community, or it's that would destroy anyone's confidence anyway. So it's not going to happen. It's just one of those, like, it's their right if they choose to sell some of those tokens.
Yep, I completely agree. And I mean, everyone has to eat. Everyone, it's a business, and the fact that it was locked up for I think 2 years, like, absolutely incredible. So. I appreciate you addressing that. And I only have I guess 2 of these zingers to address, but I want to get them addressed because, we address them sometimes, but we're just creators, right? So I think having you guys, just kind of come out and address them is going to be that much more impactful. So the next one is buybacks. Someone said it looked like they were started and then they stopped. Why would this happen? And then I had another person send me a very specific question. So let me know if you're able to speak to this or not, or if it's incorrect information. I don't know. They said per token model, there's a buyback of 10% every sold gem stated. With more than 40 million in sales, that would be a total buyback of at least 4 million worth of OMI. Until now, the buyback is less than 100,000. When will the full buyback amount be completed, and when will it be automated?
Yeah, so
it's a lot. Sorry.
that's fine. That's fine. We cover most of it. They did. Yeah, we had a few buybacks across. I think it was last month, maybe the one before, and then they stopped. Right now, they're a very manual process, right? And it's not as black and white as like, well, they've sold this much, so this much goes to buybacks. It's meant to be 10% of revenue. Revenue, depending on what we're selling, the licensor, that number is a fluctuating value. But more than anything, it's just a manual process right now. We had to wait to actually start them to settle our first quarter or first 4-month financials. Whenever that happened, it had to go through legal sign-off, had to go through accounting. And then even the purchasing process is a manual process at the moment. So we're still going to go through the same thing for a little while yet. It is just the nature of the beast. There's obviously a lot going on in the background other than all the development stuff. We have all these licenses coming on board, everything that has to take place for a Marvel collectible to roll out and all of those things. Now, it's no excuse, right? It's just how things are at the moment. And we are still operating on quite a limited team. So
right.
Look, I should have an update on that front soon. I actually emailed David about it this morning to see when things will get back into place. But I think I'd just like to remind everyone that we always deliver on the things we say we're going to. It might take longer than people expect, but the system is there because it's a great system, and we know that, everybody else knows that. So whenever it starts happening again, it'll just become another question of the past.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate you being upfront and clear about that. I mean, you guys are juggling so many balls. It's incredible just how much you guys are actually doing. So of course there's going to be, substantial things that are kind of more important than others, and some things get put on the back burner, but you're right. Like, there hasn't been a single thing that you guys haven't delivered yet. Yeah, the time frame has been skewed a bit, but at the same time, we've been usually given something kind of in its place. So happy to hear that, that is the case, because that means buybacks are still coming. So not financial advice, but I'm hearing hodl and buy more.
Always.
Yeah. And then the last, I guess, FUD piece is, emulators. And shout out to you guys for hearing the community and then doing CAPTCHA and doing all these different things. Like that already was impressive to me that you guys, took our feedback as a community. We're like, you guys are right. Like this is an issue and put things in place. But there's always going to be people who are going to complain about, right? Like even if there's one person still getting away with it, there's going to be complaints and there's always going to be bad actors. But, can you touch on, when we're at a stopping point for these few people, or is there any additional plan to add more measures as the app scales?
Yeah. I mean, those kind of things are always in development, right? And the capture system we've integrated, we work with the top capture security company in the world that has helped us integrate that, and their technology is always evolving to combat these things. So now that's in place. And just to touch on that, I think a lot of people thought we put capture in and then took it out a week later, but it's very sophisticated in the way that technology operates. So it can identify, if there's something untoward happening on your account, well, then you'll be shown the capture because you're a suspect account, right? But if you are using it in a very normal way, and all those transactions are very legitimate, then you may not be shown the capture each time you participate in a drop. Now, the problem with these things is that, and not the problem with capture, just the problem with the way that people operate, is that someone shares one image and it gets circulated like that's what's going on. It's everybody's using bots. Nobody can access these drops. It's the end of the world, And we were only at, I think maybe 4 or 5% of accounts before we put in the capture were being identified as bots, and in the last drops, it's now down to 1%, maybe 2%. And as soon as those transactions go through, we've now re-engineered the back end that they get automatically disabled. So the process is ongoing, but it improves every week as we learn more about these kind of transactions as well. So yeah, I don't know if we ever get to a point of zero. I think people will always be building new ways to try and get around these systems. We'll always be building new ways to combat them. But overall, the impact they have is very minuscule. And I mean, we're very blessed to have everybody in the community, anyone that becomes a suspect account. I mean, half the messages I get now are like, hey, look into this guy, or, look into this thing because this is happening, or they just tried to sell me this, or, so the more that the community rallies behind that and helps us to disable those accounts or to identify how they're getting around things, the better it is for everybody.
Absolutely. So everyone, do your part. If you see someone who has an emulator or seems like they're kind of cheating the system, or you're trying to scam out of gems as like a interim or whatever, make sure you report it, because it's just not going to fly if they get caught. So we want to get these people off. So thanks, Rhys, on addressing those. So back to the fun stuff.
Fantastic.
So MutileX is coming, which means several of our collectibles will be able to put into an NFT marketplace like OpenSea, right? There's no way of knowing, of course. I guess we want to join in some of the fun speculation with you guys, but what impact do you think this will have to many of the licensors or brands? What impact do you think this will have to officially, be able to refer to Veve collectibles as NFTs for the overall NFT space?
Yeah, I think it's one thing, like it's one barrier to entry right now with the traditional crypto crowd. We've made the app and the experience so accessible to everybody, except, especially the ETH maxis and natives and things. They have their, very specific idea of what it is, and they won't sort of vary from that, right? But I think the benefits are there's going to be quite a few. One, it brings eyeballs back to Veve, right? If you can see some licensed collectibles called a Superman or something available on OpenSea, you'll want to know where that came from, right? And you kind of come back to the app experience to figure it out or be part of it. So I think that's huge. Yeah, it's another way to validate what we're doing. It's further validation. I think the selection of Immutable X is probably the best choice we could have made. From a technology point of view, for me, I'm a huge ETH maxi, very happy to be moving across. Fundamentally, I mean, ETH is the most secure, the most decentralized chain in the world. Maybe it wrestles with Bitcoin a little bit for that, but like, I really think the consciousness in crypto is moving away from Bitcoin and into these other smart contract platforms, just from a usability point of view. But The community in Ethereum is huge. I can't wait to start accessing and leveraging that and introducing them to what we're doing as well. But I think long term, we're going to bring these users to Veve and they're going to stay there. Like it's all well and good to be able to sell things on OpenSea, but before long you'll be able to cash in and out of Veve anyway. It's probably going to be a much more usable experience, especially for people who aren't native to crypto. And a big majority of our audience, I think, will stay there. I mean, the experience is better. Right? You can actually do things with your collectibles. It's not just buying and selling. You can put them in your showrooms and you can drop them in AR and all of those kind of things. Like whenever these are able to send out, it will be pretty limited. It might be a card that represents that collectible or something, but unless our tech stack integrates with whatever else's tech stack, like you're not going to see it in the same way. So yeah, fundamentally, I think it helps to grow our user base. I think it validates what we're doing more in the space. And I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. I mean, to your point, I completely agree. Like you guys are targeting mass adoption, right? So my aunt, like she loves everything Marvel, everything Avengers. She's not going to set up a MetaMask and she's not going to buy crypto, but she knows how to download an app and input a credit card and set up a sign-in or login, all that. So, when I think of NFT projects that are starting this year or even started, over the past 2 years, they're going to naturally fall into a downtrend when the whole market enters a bear cycle, right? And they're going to have to retain users and they're going to have to probably go lean for a little while. Whereas Veve really has the ability to scale as more happens in AR, as more happens with, Marvel and digital collectibles and everything else, because you guys are not only targeting the crypto crowd. So I think that's where you guys are definitely going to stand out. So I like the idea of some of it being gated, some of it not being gated. So it's appealing to both sides. But which by the way, do we know like how, I guess what the ratio is of current licensors on what will be able to go to OpenSea and what won't?
No, I don't at this stage. We're in a clubhouse with Frank Kozik and Jermaine.
I love Frank.
Yeah, he's a legend, right? And he was kind of saying, well, he's already familiar with OpenSea. So is Jermaine, right? And those guys represent themselves, so they have the opportunity to be much more fluid with the way that their assets are used. Whereas something like Marvel, who is represented by a legal team that is bigger than our team, there's a lot more limitation on not even limitation, but there's a lot more steps to overcome before you can kind of enable that experience. So this is in no way confirmation, but I would expect to see maybe the artists or something like that, people who are already familiar with the experience being more than happy for that to happen straight away or as soon as it can. And the bigger companies will just innately take more time. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast.
Right.
There's a lot of contracts that have to be written, a lot of the legal contracts and I don't know at that point. I don't know if it's already been discussed and included in our current arrangements or if that then becomes a new arrangement moving out of the app. But it'll all be experience-based. And really, if that's what people are calling for, then that's what we'll work towards. But if we somehow manage to pull in 500,000 Marvel users in the next 6 months and they're all enjoying the app and the necessity isn't there, well, yeah, I mean, we'll just see how it plays out.
Yeah. Veve will put the fun in non-fungible and fungible.
Exactly right.
Yeah. That could be like the next shirt, right?
Yeah. I really like, we obviously saw the Spider-Man teasers go out on Veve Instagram the other day. And David, you dropped one with a clue that was completely unrelated to Spider-Man,
Just to mess with people.
Yeah, just to mess with people, have a glass of milk, meow, or whatever. And Alex, director of marketing, I just saw on Twitter, just said, "You got you'd," that's the one for me. That's this week's meme. I want that on a shirt.
You got you'd.
You got you'd.
Love it. Yeah, I saw that and I was 100% like Googling as fast as possible, like, all right, New York and this place and art and graffiti and then milk and cats and oh man, he got me. I got you'd.
Yeah, it's great. Like, look, those guys are starting to sink their teeth into the brand behind Veve, really establishing a voice there. It's a collectibles company. They're having a lot of fun with it. I'm really enjoying seeing that develop as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously we all love seeing David just have fun.
Oh, I love
Really.
it. You know, I mean, there's so much work he's doing, but at the same time, like I love seeing David let loose and, you know, just having fun with the community. So love it.
Yeah.
And speaking of Alex, you just mentioned, you know, we've heard from the past AMAs that the marketing hasn't started yet for Veve or the OMI token. You know, we do our best to, you know, wear our hats proud as the unofficial Veve marketing team, all of us in the community, but curious, you know, is there an event or a stage that Ecomi is waiting for before launching the marketing, and you know, why the wait?
Uh, is there an event? I don't think there's a particular moment in time. It's something we've been working towards. To be honest, I mean, because of our amazing community marketing team, it just hasn't been that necessary yet. You know, the drops are selling out. For the last few months, you know, we've obviously been refining the systems, really improving that experience. So you know, if we tried to drop some marketing and onboard 500,000 users 3 months ago, we just weren't in a place to do it. You know, it wouldn't have made sense. Moving forward, I mean, I imagine it will start to become more prolific as either the user base slows down in adoption, or we really want to leverage the exposure from these brands. So, I mean, we're going to see some things kick off this week around the Marvel drop. It's obviously a huge opportunity for us,
Right.
And we want to maximize that exposure. The same thing will come, you know, with every Marvel drop now, or every new type of collectible or collectible feature. Anywhere we can sort of push the awareness of those features into the collectibles world or into the individual fandoms, we'll start to take those opportunities. So, you know, I'm not going to definitively say it starts today, but
But blink
it's
twice now.
definitely yeah, definitely something we're working towards. And I mean, just on that note, obviously we have Rogers and Cohen, you know, a company of that caliber, helping with the PR side of things. That doesn't change when it comes to the marketing side. You know, we are really leveraging some of the biggest companies in the world to help build the brand awareness, and the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's great to hear. I appreciate that. So we're starting to see more and more, you know, Ecomi and Veve mentions from influencers and celebrities in the crypto and NFT space, like Andre Jick and Altcoin Daily and Cryptos R Us and Lark Davis, Gary Vee, and we already touched on it, but Tom Bilyeu. You know, and this might be an Alex question as well, but what's the plan for, you know, working with these influencers or even actively going on some of the bigger channels like a Lark Davis or, you know, an Andre Jick in the near future?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm kind of the front of that at the moment, helping to, you know, I really operate in the crypto space, something I'm passionate about. I'm generally across quite a lot of these opportunities. And yeah, I mean, we've been in touch the same way you've been reaching out to people. We reach out to people as well. It's always a nice surprise when you open Twitter and see like Altcoin Daily mention us or something like that. And we have always been operating under the guise that these big announcements, you know, the license announcements bring the awareness. It doesn't matter if that's in the mainstream or in the cryptoverse. You couldn't miss the Marvel announcement. You know, it even got mentioned in Coinbase's email list,
And Forbes.
you know, and Forbes, you know,
Yeah.
like, and those things, right? So each one of these that rolls out obviously brings in new collectors and fans, but you just get to that point where the crypto community can't stay silent on it anymore, you know, and even if they have their other projects or their favorite things or whatever, like it just gets into that awareness and that starts that snowball, you know, whether it's Lark Davis or Jason Pizzino or, you know, it's the same way we operate. Everybody's watching everybody else's videos and seeing what they're looking at and seeing what they're talking about. George from Cryptos R Us gave us a mention 2 days ago. You know, he does some of the best content. Mm-hmm. I think we're going to be working on something together. We've been in touch. So it's, you know, it's definitely something that we're working towards to help build awareness of the token. And most of these guys have been watching our journey for a long time. You know, we did an interview with Lark 3 years ago, something like that, you know, when we first started. So it's not a new thing to these guys to see us out there.
Yeah, I caught that video where he spoke about how he sold and he's kicking himself on how it'd be like well over $1 million, something like that, if he held on to it back in 2018. So sorry, Lark,
Yeah.
but now we know to hodl.
That's it.
Lesson
That's
learned,
it.
right?
That's it. But like I get it. Back then, we were the only ones beating the NFT drum.
Right.
Nobody knew. I guess people knew what we talked about, but like, perfect example. We did an interview with Ivan on Tech
Hmm.
and came away from it. We knew he didn't have a clue what we just said to him. It's like, it just didn't make sense to him because it wasn't a thing at the time. People were still wrapping their head around, is Bitcoin money, or what does Ethereum do? It wasn't, that use case really wasn't in the awareness. So I understand it, right? And then, of course, people's attention span in crypto lasts all of 4 minutes. So if something doesn't happen within 3 days, then they move on and move to something else. So yeah, just as you said, it shows the power of the hodl, especially if the fundamentals are there and the team is there. Like, people could see in 2018 that Al Khan was involved, but no one really found it.
Hmm.
Nobody did the research to even get that far. Yeah, that's just the nature of it. But now, because of the work we did then, and really, I've been doing outreach from the Ecomi Twitter for the last 3 years to people like that, and sharing their content and engaging with people just to keep our name relevant, and preparing for the moment that we find ourselves in now. So it's really, to be honest, it's great to see it come back full circle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I look forward to seeing, hopefully, maybe like Cryptos R Us or Andre one day adding a red circle behind their name on Twitter. That would make my day.
I'll push for it.
But we can dream.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So we've known about, and I think we touched on it a little bit before, but we've known about many licenses for a while that are upcoming, right? Like Star Trek and Jurassic Park, this guy, and the
yeah.
LOL dolls, NFLPA. The timelines have been delayed, and we've touched on like other things took priority, but all these usually is like a strategic decision from Ecomi to better utilize a drop, or are they sometimes a licensor moving a deadline? Just kind of curious, like why the move happens from a business end.
Yeah, there's a few reasons, right? I mean, sometimes it's us delaying things. Most of the time, it's from a licensor. And just to give people some perspective on that, like, these things chop and change all the time. We can have things ready in the few days before a drop, be about to announce this is what's coming this week, and it gets pulled. And it'll get pulled for any number of reasons. It could be that their legal team isn't happy with the asset. Um, maybe they're just not ready in time. Maybe we're not ready in time, and that will continue to happen. There will always be things that come up unexpectedly. Dan and I, we literally call it the Veve curveball. You have everything ready to go, and you think you're ready to launch this thing, and then 5 minutes before something happens, you get a phone call or something changes it.
It's gonna drive you nuts.
Like, in amongst all of the prep work that happens and everything else that you try to assemble to roll these things out, honestly, it happens every week. Like, sometimes twice a week. It's just, we've just had to accept it, and that's just the nature of the beast. Where we are working with other companies' IP, they still control the use of that IP and approve everything, right? Like, to get these Spider-Man collectibles ready to go, there's been literally months of back and forthing. All the copy that goes out with it, all the imagery. I won't be surprised if there's still changes right up until the weekend. I mean, it's just how it is.
Right.
So yeah, they still maintain quite a lot of control, and that can cause delays or things for us. From an asset point of view, I mean, the assets that we're developing and releasing now are exponentially better than the ones we released at the start of season one, for example. Everyone can see those updates, those upgrades. So, in line with our drive to release the best experience, we want to release the best collectibles. It really sets us apart from a lot of things that are available in the wider market. And really, that has developed as we have, our access to these studios, the quality of the assets that we're creating. If there's an opportunity to make something look better or more interactive, if we released that Ghost Trap, for example, 3 months ago as part of that drop, it would have looked nothing like the Ghost Trap that we released
Right.
2 weeks ago.
We saw the Slimer, night and day difference.
Night and day, right? It went from this solid collectible that like it was cool. You know, the first version had like some drool that dripped or something, but it wasn't see-through and
Right.
interactive and this thing. So where there's opportunity to improve the assets before they roll out, I think we'll always opt to take that opportunity. You know, and really help to develop, really just cement our place as having those higher quality assets. It does credit to us, but it does credit to the brands too, you know, and fundamentally we're all fans of these brands. So we want to do that. We want to do right by them as well.
Awesome.
So,
No, that makes sense. I appreciate you adding some color behind that.
yeah.
And just on the note of delays, like I'm not going to go into what happened with Comic Con. Like it was an unforeseen surprise, I think, for all parties at hand. But we did see some awesome drops with the CE tag, right? And so would you say the CE or con exclusive tag is going to play a larger role long term? When it comes to scarcity and value, I guess again long run for the collectibles in Veve.
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, anything that differentiates a collectible, at the moment seems to give it that extra little bit of spice. Whether it's a first appearance or a first edition, season one. There's collectors that are collecting specific mint numbers. If it's 1985 for Back to the Future, so anything like that. I'm not going to say it will add value, but it definitely helps to differentiate those collectibles from the rest. Now, these ones will always be the very first con exclusives, right? So I think as an item that you desire, as something to get involved with, yeah, they're definitely things that people are racing for, and want to hold on to. Moving forward, you might only be able to get these collectibles at a physical event. I know that was kind of the intention, right? The con exclusive. So then they become even more exclusive. If you didn't make it to that event, then you didn't have an opportunity to get one of those collectibles. I think at that point, we'll really see, say, the con exclusive tag, hold its own against the first appearances and things like that. But every little piece of this puzzle, this is the first time in history that someone has released a Jermaine Rogers digital collectible, and the fact that it's a con exclusive, and the same thing, the first time in history we released a Batman. This weekend, the first time in history that Spider-Man is going to become a digital collectible, right? So I just think that those elements really add value propositions to those items. And the con exclusive is no different.
Awesome. I appreciate you giving some clarity on that. And, we've seen now, I guess we know that there's over 100 licensors signed on Veve, and I don't know how many more keep getting signed weekly or maybe even daily, but how many, or I guess what percentage of the brands have we even seen that is queued up?
Barely any.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually crazy, right? You work so hard to get the first ones on board. Then we start landing some of the bigger ones. And then once we rolled this out, and people saw how easy it was, you touched on it earlier, right? For a company to roll a product out and there already be a huge barrier to entry, you need to know MetaMask, you need to buy Ethereum, you need to know how to protect your keys. You buy this thing, and then you can only look at it if you're on the same web browser, and you can look at it in your wallet or whatever, right? It's not a good user experience. Then you look at Veve, that has opened access to all of these things, taken away all of those barriers to entry. So, for a company that's trying to make that digital transition, I believe that we're at the forefront of that. We really have kind of claimed that spot, and it's put us in an incredible position for new brands and new licenses to come on board. So yeah, I don't know if you saw Dan did a talk. It was at NFT Tokyo.
Yep.
I shared a screenshot from it.
All the ones behind them.
Right, all those brands, and that's that just scratches the surface, right? That was a previous thing. That was before Marvel. That was before a lot of these new agreements, a lot of new artists that still haven't been announced. And within Marvel as a licensor, there's so many individual brands that come with it, so I'd say we're well over 100 now.
Wow.
If we're looking specifically at brands, and it's not showing any signs of slowing. So.
Fantastic. We're always, very eager to see the next one, but, we have to kind of think sometimes that we still haven't seen a lot of the ones that have been revealed, right? But I'm sure, you guys are going to show your hand straight up front. So I imagine there are some really, really big cards that we have not seen on some major licensors and brands, and will surprise us all in the near future.
I mean, look, perfect example just on that. All of the releases we just did for Comic Con, no one knew they were coming.
Right.
There was 4 in that week, right? That were a complete surprise to everybody. So even of the brands that people do know, there's maybe just as many that people don't. And really, unless you've been here from the start or plug in as much as we all do, there's probably a lot that you're not aware of, even at this point. So
Right.
yeah,
I wasn't familiar with Jermaine Rogers, but then when I heard him speak on the AMA and actually looked at his art, absolutely incredible artist, well connected. Frank's obviously awesome, Mondo's awesome, or Mitch. And I'm really sad I didn't get a lucky rabbit, but one day I'll get one.
yeah. And look, can I just take a moment to shout out the VV Collectors chat, and VV Wiki? Those guys organize that chat. It's insane to me to just get a message from them inviting us to join them. And then even for me to talk to Jermaine, to talk to Frank, and you can talk to Frank almost every night of the week on Clubhouse if you want.
Wow.
To be able to facilitate a conversation like that really gives people the story behind the art. That's a really special thing. And I know that everybody in the community appreciates it. So just to send some appreciation to those guys, thanks for organizing those kind of events. They're great for us. They're great for everybody else.
Absolutely. I mean, I've never used Clubhouse until Ecomi and Veve came along, and those guys crush it. I mean, every little faction of different platforms that have built a group, every single one adds a different flavor and more value to what's happening. So I'm happy that we have so many different pockets that are touching on different pieces of Veve, and so well done to them. We know MTL is coming, but is there any more timeline info around more of what the OMI token utility, whether it's OMI to NFT or staking via Master Collector program?
I can't put a timeline on it, right? The move to immutable has to come first. Mm-hmm. And just to give some people some context there, as Michael, our CTO, was mapping it out, he kind of said, all right, well, we could build it now, and it might take us 8 weeks to build, test, implement, which is pretty well exactly the time we were planning to move to immutable. And then we would have to rebuild it all anyway, right? So the call was made to move to immutable.
Right.
Now, just to give you some context, an update on that, that's about 90% of the way through development. It's going into stages of heavy testing now. I mean, at this stage, we're on track for probably the end of the month, if all goes well, right? And I just need to reiterate that we're dealing with people's money. We're dealing with people's assets. We're picking up a huge app now and moving it, and literally, changing the underlying technology of that thing. So the testing will take as long as it takes, but they've been, the devs have been working hard to get it there. I will also add, and a big congratulations to Michael, but he's only a few weeks out from having his first child, which understandably may cause some delays. So, if that's the case, that's the case, right? But it's coming. It's on the way there. Now, in terms of OMI utility, once that happens, then we can start to build in OMI direct to NFT, and obviously staking as master collector wherever that is in the development pipeline. I'm not going to confirm that these features are coming. These are just things that people in the community have suggested, things that I really like, like really cool abilities. Someone suggested the other day that, maybe you could burn some OMI to have your market listing featured at the top of the page, right? I think that's a great idea, really cool way to go about it. We'll work towards things like that. Same as we always collect feedback from people. If people have ideas like that, send them our way, right? I would love to see, maybe ahead of a drop, you can commit a certain amount of OMI tokens, almost in the same way that if you go for a airline upgrade, right? If you're flying somewhere, and you can say, well, I'll bid 20,000 points and I might get an upgrade out of it, right? And you spend those points. Well, maybe you can bid 20,000 OMI and there's 10 spots available, and whoever bids the most OMI gets early access to a drop or something like that, and
I like it.
right? so when we say there's more utility, I mean, there's so many possibilities of things we can build in that supplement the collecting experience, but also utilize the token. Um, so we're definitely working towards those things and having a lot of conversations around them. I think one thing that's also important for people to remember is, I know the token's a bit disconnected at the moment, right? It's because there isn't that utility, completely fine. We all know that. But the bigger the Veve user base grows now, there will be a day where we switch on OMI transactions, and then you have 500,000 users or however many people that have the app that see this token appear, and wonder, well, what's that thing, and then we either walk them down the rabbit hole or they dive down it themselves and learn about the token, right? And then you open ways to incentivize use of that token. So maybe there's items in the store that are exclusively available in OMI, right? So benefits people that already have it. But the long-term plan of the MTL would be to facilitate a purchase of that token. So if I'm a non-crypto user and I go into the market, for example, and I see a FA RISO only for sale in OMI, right? Whoever owns it has listed it. Well, I want to buy that thing, and the MTL will facilitate that purchase, even though I'm using US dollars, and they're receiving OMI. So somewhere in between, it would make a market purchase of the token, and then exchange it for the collectible. Right now, that's down the line, admittedly. But everything we do is to try and streamline those transactions, and really marry the interaction between crypto and non-crypto users in the same place. So, I mean, they're just a few examples, right, of potentialities and implementations that are on the table.
Well, those are exciting examples. And, like the investor in all of us are like, when, like we want this yesterday, right? But that's a lot to navigate, like all those different pieces hitting on both sides, having the ability on the crypto side as well as the ability to cash out gems. And, I'm still a holder of XRP. It was the first thing I invested in back in 2018. And we saw what happened when you're not compliant. I am more than happy as an investor long-term that you guys take as much time as possible to figure this out. So that way it isn't going to blow up later down the line, right? So I think you guys are definitely approaching it the right way. It's just the investor and all of us who are like, oh, we want it to go to, 50 cents, 20 cents or whatever, tomorrow. But long-term vision, it makes a lot of sense to really, really walk on eggshells when it comes to these things.
Absolutely. And I mean, outside of the legalities of these things, then you need the hours. There's a lot of dev time that goes into every single feature, and to go back to localization that we touched on before, right? If we're rolling out a new feature like that, well, then it has to suit all of the languages that we have in the app at that point, or anything like that, right? So I'm not going to say that as the app grows, the development slows down, because really we're moving at lightning pace for a normal, right? Like the amount of things that roll out. Capture is a perfect example. Everyone was kind of yelling for it. A week later, the devs had it ready to go, or at least the first version of it. So we're definitely not moving slow. We're just, when you're used to things happening in crypto and people are just used to that dopamine hit happening all the time from things moving or whatever, there's just a disparity there. There's a disparity between the reality of what it takes to implement something and implement something at scale and people's expectations of getting rich in 3 days.
Right. Yeah. I mean, well said. I mean, I think this is the most distracting space in terms of investments by far. And I think being invested in a company that isn't going to just be a one-night wonder is where the mindset needs to shift to. So again, happy to see what's evolving and that you guys give us as much as you do, what we're able to see and how much development there has been. So, and I know I've got about 5 more questions left. So if you want to like stretch, shake it off,
Let's do it.
All
I
right.
haven't had to run to the bathroom yet, so we're good.
Sounds good. Make sure you're drinking water. Don't pass that on the stream. So the Veveverse is shrouded in frustrating mystery, to say it the least. And I know you probably can't speak to too much of it, but we've been hinted at using our collectibles as avatars, possibly in the future. will there be an actual functional economy where maybe we're able to like rent out a collectible or a space that's given in the Viviverse?
Yeah. So those things I can probably touch on a little more, mostly because we have spoken about them. Yeah, I mean, those features are definitely part of the intention of the VVverse. You know, like if you've got a killer showroom like Johnny Dunn's showroom or something like that, maybe you can charge admission, right? It might cost you 1 gem to go in and check that showroom out, right? And that experience might be a bit limited if you're using a phone or that kind of thing. But when you've got AR glasses on, or you know, it really can become more immersive as that technology develops. Well, then you can plug yourself into an immersive showroom. You know, you can be part of it. So there's definitely talk of that. Being able to lease your collectibles to other people, like we're all moving into this digital era, right? And this kind of immersive space. Now, I wouldn't be surprised to see rap videos with DeLorean time machines behind them, or the Batmobile, or something in the future, you know. And
Rhys is going to start rapping, confirmed.
yes, I think, yeah, you know, and like to enable that, well, maybe you need to, you know, someone wants to lease your number 41 DeLorean or something like that, right? So we really want to enable an economy really inside the VBS. Now, again, from a development point of view, that's not going to be day one. You know,
Right.
it's just not, it's not feasible to have that, right? I think the earliest iterations of the VVverse will be, you know, your showrooms or extensions of your showrooms, coinciding with this kind of ability to contact your friends. You know, maybe you can easily teleport to their showroom, things like that. I'm sure we'll have a big sort of VV City, for lack of a better term, you know, where we might have the main showroom with all the number ones in it set up in a way that you can come and interact, right? So same as the app, you know, the first versions of the VVverse they'll be great, but they'll be limited in the vision that we have for them.
Right.
And that will continue to develop on that front too. So yeah, but outside of that, there's not that much I can really reveal at this point. Obviously,
Totally
we're going to keep some cards pretty close. Yeah, fundamentally, we're building towards that premium digital experience, and the more involved and the more immersive we can make that, the better. You know, and Al Khan spoke to it in the interview we did with him, where it almost becomes theme parks, maybe.
Right.
You know, like yeah, there's these branded digital experiences, and VV is almost like the gift shop as you walk out of that experience. You know, you take a piece of that with you. It's just that we now live in this world where that piece of memorabilia has its own value and its own economy. It's the era of a new industry, you know, and yeah, it's pretty exciting to just be part of it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Big fan of everything that's happening with metaverses. You know, I've seen Facebook is really making headlines lately with their metaverse, and I'm happy to see that Vivi is going that route, but you guys are doing it very different from most of the projects where it's you've already built up the user base, you've already built up the fandom and collectibles. And I think the way that you're doing it, it gives you so many doors to really branch out versus the opposite where now they've built this out and they have to get user base. But you know,
Yeah.
with the majority of what's used and needed in the Viviverse, will that be the OMI token that's mostly used in it, similar to like Sand, how it's used in Sandbox?
Yeah, I mean, I think any sort of transactional currency will always be gems, or you know, we need to kind of balance that. The same reason we do it in the app, right? But if OMI is implemented in VV and that's all comfortable, then we'll give users the same choice in the VVverse for whatever's kind of taking place. I've always operated under the impression and the knowledge that the token will still underpin everything that happens in the VVverse anyway, right? Whether that's more token burns from different things or whatever. But I guess, I mean, it just depends how that experience builds out too. I'm not, I don't have all the facts on it either, right? Like the team have kept it pretty secret from me, probably so I don't give anything away. You know,
Maybe
but,
David doesn't even know because
yeah,
sometimes he'll just like get excited and start talking about stuff and we're like, oh wait, he just leaked something.
yeah, yeah, that's it. You know, so look, I know it's shrouded in mystery. It has to be, you know, it has to be at this point. But the same value proposition that we have with VV, you know, we've really cornered this market because we have licensed content. and compared to say a Sandbox or a Decentraland, like they're doing some really cool things, but they don't have the brand power that we're building with, and that we have behind us. So yeah, like you said, I think our metaverse will be quite different, at least in the experiences that are offered, and the way that people interact. We're leveraging existing fan bases for that as well, the same way we do for the app in its current iteration. I think it'll be a big success.
Fantastic. Very much looking forward to it. If you can't tell from how many questions I've asked about the Veveverse. And so, MTL is eventually coming, right? And it's the ability to cash out gems. This seems like a great thing, long term, but I guess this probably should go in the FUD category, but some seem to be worried about, the floor lowering on some collectibles because of this, right? People will be able to cash out, so they're going to sell some collectibles. Is this an actual worry? Because I kind of see it as a great thing. It validates that people can actually make money in fiat with Veve, and I look at it as progress for early collectors, and it almost like kind of weeds out those who are just in it to make a quick buck and get out. So I guess what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I agree with you, right? I mean, the ability to cash out of this app is crucial, right? It's crucial to the experience. It's crucial to everybody who has committed money to it already. And I'm always a big believer that the free market decides on these prices. And if people being able to cash out means that they sell their collectibles cheaper, well, I mean, that's opportunity for everybody else, right? It's not, yeah. David and Dan have touched on this it was an AMA a few weeks ago, but like no collectible should be 10x the value 5 minutes after it was sold.
Right.
It's not, it's part of the digital collectible space. It's not part of the real collectible space. And I understand that as a digital experience, a lot of these things are accelerated, right? In the physical collecting world, you might have to wait 20 years before enough of your item gets destroyed or lost for yours to have value, right? Ours have an innate value straight away, and they have that experience built into them. But like if you're a new user and you come into the app and the cheapest thing in the market is $2,000, your experience is over. Especially if you don't understand, the ongoing value propositions of those things. So if enabling a way for people to, cash in and out and take advantage of the economy of these collectibles lowers the price on things, I'm just going to be buying them. Like,
That's how I feel too. It's a yard sale.
Yeah, because the user base is only going to continue to grow. So the scarcity of those assets continues to grow. So if that short-term impact, if that is the short-term impact, I mean, that just smells opportunity to me. Like I don't see that as an issue at all. And as you said, it may well weed out people that are just there to try and turn a profit. But it's also enabling you to turn a profit,
right?
That's the only way that you can do it. I mean, yeah, I know people we're not naive to the fact people are cashing out other ways, right? And I will reiterate at this point, we don't support any off-app transaction. You are operating at your own risk if you go down that path. But this really just creates a much safer avenue for people to do that too, and that's crucial. Especially if we're bringing in Marvel fans and an ongoing user base. That's what people want, right? And big thank you to everybody who has been patient with us so far to get this done. It's again not a small development. It has to be tested against everything. It's dealing with your money. There will be a KYC. I'm sure when it first rolls out, it will roll out in a limited capacity. So just be prepared for that from this moment. That's just the way it's going to be, because people will always try to find ways to scam it. They will try to find loopholes. They will try to force a bug. And if we're doing that with people's money, obviously we all know that's not a good thing. So yeah, it's probably closer than people think. I'm not going to put a date on it. Again, heavy testing, it needs to take place before we can roll it out, but it's top priority for us to get it out there.
Well said, and very exciting to see. And I think it does also appeal to, what you've even said about how the people who are going to be able to use the app who don't care about the crypto side, it's actually going to create the ability to either flip or collect. And then if you want to sell something, and if we get stuck in a situation, you need to pull some money, you can do so with your collectibles, right? So I think it will help with the overall, strategy, what you guys are trying to do to build out. So happy to hear. Same sentiment.
And it might just increase the velocity of these things. You know, they
Right.
might change hands more often because more people will see an opportunity here or sell this thing here, you know, and I mean, that's how you keep that economy off more than anything, right? If you want to open that availability to people. No, I think it's a great thing. You know, anyone complaining about the ability to cash out, just delete the app. Like,
Yeah.
it's not worth my time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we kind of touched on it already on the events side, but is there a chance we'll see, Veve and Ecomi at another event this year? Yeah.
Yeah. Dan and Dave have quite the schedule of con events, you know, and I mean not just this year, but moving forward. Um, and there's a lot of different types of con events, right? And I was only made aware of this recently. When I hear con, I think Comic Con, but
Right.
there's some specifically for vinyl art toys, you know, or designer toys. There's other ones specifically for types of collectibles, um, and all of those niche markets. You know, you're accessing the people that love this kind of stuff. So definitely on the cards. Rogers and Cohen are responsible for setting up quite a few um, talks as well. You know, I mean, Dan and Dave, there hasn't been one in the last few weeks because there just hasn't been time. But you know, at NFT Tokyo event, you know, they're constantly doing panels and things like that. So that will continue as well. Helps to really raise the awareness in the cryptoverse if it's an NFT focused event. But even those events are bleeding over into the mainstream now. You know, when you have people like Chamath, Gary V, Mark Cuban, you know, you have all of these prestigious billionaires that see the value in this space, you know, and that's really driving the narrative. So when people look it up and they see Veve branded next to things like that or at these events, yeah, there's plenty of them in the works.
Perfect. I I was an avid con goer and anime event goer, so I'll start making sure that I'm using my Southwest card, I guess, the most, so I can get some points ready. So whenever you guys do announce event, when we get something live, I think that'll be really exciting and get to actually see the fandom up close.
Yeah.
Um, Rhys, you're the eyes, ears, and mouth, I guess, and our direct tap of what happens into Ecomi and Veve. So we find out a lot of happenings directly from you, and it's been asked of David and Al, but I don't think anyone's asked directly you. So what's your grander vision for what Ecomi and Veve will be, years from now, or I guess the what it will become?
That's a great question. Obviously, you know, we combine all of these experiences, right? I'm of the firm belief that just the demographics that are kind of growing up right now are going to lean into this digital era. People's apartments are getting smaller, so they don't have as much stuff, right? And in that environment, digital assets or digital collectibles makes a lot of sense. We're only becoming more integrated with technology. Now, I hear a lot of people, they're scared of implants or wearables or whatever while they're talking to you on their Apple Watch or, like running around with their phone in their hands. So, I think we can all agree that technology is only going to continue to become part of our lives, for better or worse, right? The vision that I have for Ecomi, I mean, I truly think that we have the potential to be one of the best stories in crypto. We have one of the best products in crypto. We have one of the best communities in crypto, if not the best community. We've already been quite a success, right? The success story is there. But yeah, I mean, this is in no way financial advice or anything like that. But I can see us being a top 20 project. And I really do think that potential is there. If on nothing else than the fact that we have a product. I reiterate this all the time, but like we have a product, it's connecting with people. That we're in a position now that we can build through, even if we go into a bear market. We have revenue, we have a product that's selling without anyone caring about crypto, which puts us in a very powerful position moving forward. So I really do think that will continue to build out. For me personally, I mean, all of this was new to me 4 years ago. I got into crypto mid 2017, learned about NFTs not long after as we started building this out. But like the collectibles world was new to me, all of these crazy events, crazy fans like David you know, like it just wasn't part of my day, you know, and to be a part of this community now and see where it's going and have the smallest ability to guide that is really exciting for me. But in terms of where I see this in 4 or 5 years, I mean, I think Veve is a household name. I think it's a brand unto itself. Whether that gives us the ability to create our own content that's, you know, that's Veve branded or becomes collectible, I'm sure that's what David Yu would love to aim towards. You know, this is his passion and his life. With that, I think Ecomi and OMI are the same because they're so integral to everything we do. And you know, you don't forget where you came from at all. That's certainly what I'm building towards. I truly think Veve could be one of the biggest companies in the world. You know, I hear people compare it to Amazon all the time or Google or those things. And obviously that road isn't a short road. But with the way that information and opportunity spreads exponentially across the internet these days, and with the adoption of crypto, you know, it's in so many pockets, in so many different countries around the world, right? Normally you launch a product and you launch it in one place. You might stay there for 12 months before you can expand and go to the next city or whatever, right? You don't face those barriers with digital products. Right. And we can access brands from different regions or different countries. You know, it doesn't have to just be the big flashy ones. It can be something specific to New Zealand or to France or to England, or, you know, something that resonates with those audiences. And you have an instant distribution mechanism. You have instant community and marketing around those things, based on a love of the product, you know. So yeah, I think Veve just has exponential potential to really become one of the top companies in this space and in the collectibles industry and in the art industry. I think we have a lot of potential to treat artists right. Frank Kozik said it a couple of weeks ago in that clubhouse. This could be the first time a company in history treats artists as they should be treated, you know, in enabling a perpetual royalty or something like that. And all of those actions build your goodwill in the wider community in all of these industries, which compounds the fact that people want to do business with you, which, you know, it just keeps that snowball rolling.
Right.
And as the technology develops, so too do the experiences, right? Like Veve 6 months from now, 12 months from now, it's going to be so different to what it is now, you know, and what you can do with it. Veve 1 month from now will be different to what it is now, you know? So I don't see that slowing down. And because Dan and David are so focused on the user and the user experience and really creating that passion and that love around these brands and that IP, I know that will continue. And I just want to be a part of it. You know?
Yeah.
Like, I went on a bit of a rant there.
No, but I mean, it was absolutely great. Big, passionate, you know, message from Rhys, everyone. And, you know, we've heard, you know, Al's take and we've heard, you know, Dan and David's take, but to hear yours as well is very refreshing, especially since we commune with you the most. So, I mean, very, very convicted in what your statements were. So I'll be right back. I'm going to go buy more OMI. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Not financial advice.
Yeah, not financial. It's never financial advice.
Don't come after.
No, but I mean, that's absolutely great to hear. And, you know, every time we talk, you get my head spinning again, right? Like we just touched on how I feel like you guys did it backwards with how you have all the doors to go into, whether it's metaverse and all these other things, but also with OMI, you know, you've kind of done the same thing as well. So it's just really incredible to see how it's all building up, and it's doing it in the space of crypto slow, but it's doing it slow and precise. And when you think about what crypto you're able to really use in the real world, there's not a ton yet because the space itself is nascent, right? Like there's VE chain and supply chain, and there's like Brave browser and you know, Chainlink, a couple other ones that actually are able to use in real life outside of the crypto world and blockchain. But Veve, you don't need to care about crypto to use it. It appeals to the masses, appeals to collectors and more different user bases as you continue to grow with more verticals and more functionality. So I think you guys hit the nail on the head, and I agree, like similar vision, but it's great to hear it from, you know, your side of the fence as well.
Cheers, man. Yeah. It's done. it's exciting. You know, it's exhausting, but it's exciting. You know? And like my favorite thing to do is to be able to talk to everybody in the community, right? Like this is my home. This is my place. Like I love it. I spend way too much time trawling through Twitter because it just makes me laugh all day, you know. And
Trolling the
yeah,
trolls.
oh man, I so much satisfaction now in being able to roll out these developments and quell another when question, and you know, and like I don't know what the fudsters are going to be yelling at me in 6 months, but like I look forward to it, you know, because it's at least it means, you know, on one hand it means we're moving forward, and on the other hand, I mean, people are just running out of ammo,
Yep.
you know, and to keep answering those things is it's really satisfying. You know, it's really satisfying, and it's just a great way to give back to everybody who supports us. You know, we will keep delivering these experiences and these integrations as they come. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I mean, Ecomi and Veve is such an amazing company. I think we all agree as, you know, fans and even people who are in the project. And, you know, I've invested in dozens of projects over the years, but this feels like more than just an investment, right? We all have like a little stake in it. You know, I can't think of one project besides Ecomi and Veve that has engaged as openly or as frequent with the community that Ecomi has, let alone had weekly or every other day updates. So, you know, thank you for continuing to just be open with us as a community and for taking the time of actually working with us aside from actually doing your actual job. So, you know, really appreciative of everything that, you know, you do as the eyes and ears and voice of Ecomi for us as a community.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. And I mean, right back at you guys, like, we wouldn't be where we are without yourself, without all of the YouTubers, without everybody sharing things like it. I know that we're all financially incentivized to do it, right? The better this goes and the bigger it grows, the better it is for all of us. But the fact that it's underpinned by a genuine community, you know, and people that want to talk to each other and do live streams and get to know people on the other side of the world, all based around this app. I mean, it's everything you hope happens when you launch something like this, you know, and to see it play out this way it's a credit to everybody involved, you know. And so from the bottom of my heart, I know it's the same from Dan and David and everybody in the team. Like, thank you, everybody. You know, I really can't say that more and more often. We appreciate everything you guys do for us. It's truly incredible. And we want to continue to do this. You know, it's the least we can do to communicate with the people that are out there promoting what we're doing. So yeah. We'll continue that.
Shout out to everyone in the community, whether it's on Twitter or Reddit or whatever platform you're using, the creators, everyone who, you know, comes together to support the project. And, you know, I really appreciate your time, Rhys, and for letting me barrage you with questions for a second round. I hope the third round, you know, maybe could be in New York Comic-Con, but we'll see what happens, of course. No confirmations. But any closing thoughts or words of wisdom, you know, to the community before we sign off?
No, I think that pretty well wraps it up for me. You know, I've said all the things that, I mean, your questions have been fantastic. I'm glad we got through them. I've only got 2 more gray hairs, so that's fine. Maybe we'll just plug
to the hundreds.
Yeah,
from this couple
we'll
months.
plug some merch. Actually, we're both wearing Veve shirts.
Yep.
So this one's Pop Visley, if anyone wants to look him up.
This
Got
one's
some great
Flight
Veve.
School C.
Yep, I think it's Only Hodl is the website there, something like that. Shout out to everybody making merch and all these incredible products and things like that. Like, yeah, I love being able to support that side of the community as well. So get involved. You know, if you want to make something, reach out to us. We're always open to it. Personally, I think it's just one of the coolest things that take place in our community. So yeah, shout out to everybody there. Big thanks, Taps. Really appreciate it. I'll see you in 3 months, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you know, appreciate your time as always, Rhys. Looking forward to the next one. And again, thanks for letting me put you under the spotlight for all the grilling. And I'm stoked to see more of what Veve has in store and for the rest of us in 2021. And I know it's going to be great. So cheers.
Yeah. Cheers, mate. See you guys.